David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have a review of a brand new pen which a lot of folks were looking forward to being released, which is the Kaweco Sport Piston. I've been anxious to get a closer look at it as well. The good folks at the Italian retailer Stile were kind enough to send along one of these pens for me to review. So what I am going to do today is go over the parts and features of this new offering, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Just a little note here up top, I had made a community post here on YouTube about a week ago, but unfortunately I recently injured my right hand, my writing hand. I'm trying to only show the backside here. I won't impose on you the carnage that is the other side. I took a week off and things are improving, but I am far from 100%, but I didn't want to stay away for too long. So I'm going to see how things go with this review. The writing sample might be a bit of a challenge, but like I said, we'll see how this goes. So if things are a bit clunky in this review, you understand why. Okay, on to more important matters, which is this pen. It arrives in this very cool tin. Most packaging is disposable, but there is something neat about the Kaweco tins that makes me want to hold on to them and use them for other things. Once you take off the lid, inside there's a couple of things. There's a little use and care guide, a Kaweco sticker. Now this pen is available by itself, or there is what is called the starter set, which is what I have here, which includes a 23 milliliter bottle of royal blue ink. And then we have the pen. This is the Kaweco Sport Piston filler. This model is black and made from aluminum and has a gold colored trim. So far, these pens are only available in black and gold, but if they are successful, I would imagine that additional colors will be added. Okay, let's take a look at the parts and features of this pen. On the top of the cap, there is a slightly rounded coin which contains the company name. I've mentioned this in previous Kaweco reviews, but the KA and WE each reference one of the two early owners of the company, and the CO is for company. So that's how they came up with the unique name of Kaweco. This transitions into the clip. I do think the clip provides a nice pop of color. While I do like this clip, I feel the script stamping of the company name could stand to be a bit more defined. Something I've noticed, I'm not sure if this was intentional, but the finial of this pen can be unscrewed and the clip removed. But when you reattach the finial, it doesn't quite screw down all the way, which leads me to think that this wasn't a design decision to give you a choice whether or not you could use a clip with this pen. You could still do it, but personally, even though it's a very small thing, that minute gap would bug me a little bit. I do like, though, that there is a bit of a squared off portion of the clip, so it only affixes to the top of the cap in one orientation. That's a good thing because this cap is faceted, and on one of the facets it's engraved with Kaweco Sport, and you wouldn't want the clip covering that up. The cap is straight, and at the end there is a medium-sized step down to the barrel, which is also straight, but rounded, and punctuated at the end with a gold band. After which is the blind cap for the piston. This is something small, but I found interesting. The end of the blind cap has a slightly different design than most other sport pens, which have a little indentation. Here's what that looks like on the injection molded iridescent pearl model. And then this is what it looks like on the AL Sport. This one is in the vibrant violet. It's even present on the Art Sport, which I recently reviewed. But on this model, rather than the indentation, the middle is slightly raised, and I believe there's a practical purpose for that. When you remove the blind cap to expose the piston, I believe the tolerances are very small, and the piston knob just really barely fits in there. And if that indentation was there, then I don't think the blind cap would fit on. I like trying to determine why companies make small changes like that. The piston knob is sufficiently long enough for me to get a decent grip, and I do like the addition of having another Kaweco coin on the top of that piston knob. Now, in regard to this piston knob, I might have liked it better if there was no blind cap and the end was simply the piston, but I believe there was another practical reason why they didn't do that, which I'll get to here in just a bit. The cap twists off with 1 3/4 rotations, and underneath we have this stainless steel number 4 nib. This nib is available in extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and double broad. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The section is slightly concave and quickly transitions into the threads. Even though this section is metal, it's not slick at all, and I don't find the metal threads to be sharp either behind the section. Behind the threads, there is a straight portion, and then we have the ink window. I like that the plastic has a slight bluish gray tint rather than being perfectly transparent. It does a good job of keeping you appraised of your ink situation. While I do find the Sport long enough to use unposted, it is essentially designed to use posted, and it posts very deep, and the additional weight is distributed very nicely across the entire back of the barrel. It has a decent weight for a small pocket pen, and it's slightly heavier than a standard AL Sport. Those come in at about 19 grams, and this Sport piston is about 22 grams. But I believe the majority of that additional weight is in the clip. I mentioned a reason for having the blind cap as opposed to an exposed piston knob, and that might be because when this pen posts, it's making contact with that blind cap. If you twist the cap off, it maintains that contact and actually removes the blind cap, so it's still stuck in here. Now, if this were just a standard piston knob, that would be a significant issue because twisting would actually engage the piston, causing ink to shoot out the nib, which would be a bad thing. If the blind cap should happen to come off in the cap like this, you can simply screw it back on and twist it in the other direction. And if I could get this right, there we go. And no harm, no foul. At Stilo and Stile, the price for this starter set is 127 euros, which currently converts to approximately $137. They also have the pen itself for 122 euros, which is about $131. So basically with the starter set, you're getting a 32 milliliter bottle of ink for around $6, which isn't a bad price. And Kaweco inks are decent as well. I'll put a link to the Stilo and Stile site in the notes below this video. I think that this is a nice addition to the Kaweco lineup. I'm looking forward to seeing what other colors they eventually come out with. I know that when this pen was first announced, the community's initial thoughts was that the price was a bit on the high side. Kaweco actually heard those concerns and lowered the price a bit for launch, so it was nice to see a company listen to the community. Okay, now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. So here we have the Kaweco Sport Piston. I wanted to give you another closer look at this blind cap and how that comes off there. And then also the ink window, and you can see what it looks like when it is inked up. Overall, I just think this is a nicely well-made pen. Kaweco always does a really good job with their models, and this is just another solid offering. So in regard to some size comparisons, this is what it looks like with the Art Sport, which is made from resin. And then here is the AL Sport. And then finally, here we have the Lilliput. And in regard to some non-Kaweco pens, this is an offering from Shibui North. And then here is a Shown Design Pocket 6. And then here is a Pilot Prera. Rather than uncapped, we'll look at it posted since that's what most people are going to be using it as. Here is the Shibui North, and then here is the Shown Design Pocket 6, and then here is the Kaweco Lilliput. You can see that all of those turn into fairly decent sized offerings. Okay, in regard to a writing sample, we have the Kaweco Sport Piston. This is a medium stainless steel nib. And the ink that I'm using is the ink that comes with this starter kit, which is Kaweco Royal Blue. This is what the royal blue looks like. It's kind of more on kind of the purpley side. Royal blues could really vary. I mean, here's a look at Diplomat's royal blue, which is more on the blue side. Then we have Faber-Castell's royal blue. And then we have SD DuPont's royal blue, which is a bit lighter. And then here we have Mont Blanc's royal blue. And here's a closer look at that 32 milliliter bottle. While I appreciate the length so that you can get just about any nib in there, I am a little bit afraid when I'm using it that it might tip over. It's kind of like the Robert Oster bottles. It's similar in dimensions to that. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. I've always enjoyed Kaweco nibs. That I thought that they are underrated. They're fairly smooth, even for a medium nib. You're not going to get a lot of line variation out of here, but for a medium nib, the ink flow is decent on here. In regard to reverse writing, it is a little bit scratchy. And as you can see, it's not necessarily meant for reverse writing. At least this particular nib. But then in regard to some fast writing, the feed keeps up very well. So there you have the Kaweco Sport Piston. As I mentioned, I think it's a very interesting addition to the Kaweco lineup. I think it's a quality pen. It does come at a premium price, especially for the Kaweco line of pens. But I am interested to seeing how they expand this line and what other versions of this they come out with in the future. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.